Thra, senior historian of the Galactic Archive, adjusted the recording apparatus with an almost playful touch, a twinkle in his eye, as he prepared to recount a tale that had reverberated across the stars. Welcome, he began, voice warm and laced with humor, to an account that promises to leave even the most stoic beings among you in awe. Yes, my dear listeners, today I tell you how humanity, a species the Galactic Council once dismissed as harmless, shocked the entire galaxy. He settled back, folding his hands and casting his gaze upward as though reminiscing about ancient events. Ah, the Galactic Council, he said with a grin that conveyed both respect and amusement. Imagine, if you will, crystalline towers stretching toward the heavens, shimmering symbols of authority and unchecked arrogance. Within those towers, the council members sat, their every decision infused with a sense of unshakable superiority. They considered themselves the galaxy's protectors, arbiters of peace and wisdom, and above all, they believed no force could challenge their rule. No force, they assumed, could surprise them. Cass's eyes lit up with mirth. And then came humanity, he said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone. From a world classified as a manageable death world, mind you. Earth, a planet teeming with life, filled with dangers and challenges, but ultimately deemed harmless by the Council. Their analysis concluded that humans were a quaint species, adaptable but non-threatening, manageable. He chuckled softly, as if the word itself carried a private joke. A species that had survived their homeworld's many challenges, yes, but one that posed no real threat to galactic order. Or so they believed. He leaned forward, gesturing animatedly. Our initial interactions with humanity were, as one might expect, less than impressive. The Council sent diplomats and analysts to observe them, and the humans represented by figures such as the ever-polite Ambassador Chan responded with remarkable grace. Every insult, every restriction imposed upon them was met with those enigmatic, patient smiles. They listened, they adapted, and they conformed. Or so it seemed. Cass's voice dripped with irony, and his audience could almost picture the scene: the Galactic Council's representatives, wrapped in their pompous arrogance, treating the human diplomats like children who had wandered into an adult conversation. Ah, how the Council loved to patronize, he said with a mock sigh. Every interaction dripped with condescension. Humans were tolerated, barely acknowledged, and the Council felt their superiority reaffirmed with each polite nod and courteous smile from the human representatives. Little did they know that beneath those smiles lay a silent resolve, a quiet power they had yet to understand. The historian paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. But humans are nothing if not adaptable, he continued, his tone now serious. And adaptability is a trait the Council, in their crystalline towers and lofty judgments, underestimated. When the Council began imposing restrictions on humanity, laws designed to curb their expansion and keep them in check, humans responded in a manner that perplexed and delighted observers like me. They adapted. They didn't resist openly. Instead, they adjusted, finding ways to comply without sacrificing their goals. Always, they kept smiling, as if the Council's efforts to limit them were a mere game. Cass's grin widened. Oh, the irony was delicious, he said, leaning back with evident delight. The Council took pride in believing they had humanity under control. They passed laws and restrictions, from trade barriers to limits on technology sharing, and every time, humans responded with that same grace. The Council members, ever proud of their wisdom, were convinced that humanity was a species fully integrated into their rule, a species without the means or the will to challenge them. He lowered his voice, adding a touch of suspense. But patience is a double-edged sword, he intoned. And humans, my dear audience, have an extraordinary capacity for patience, but also for action when the moment calls for it. I must confess, even I, in those early days, didn't fully grasp what lay beneath humanity's polite surface. The truth was, those smiles were not signs of submission, they were warnings. He sat back, allowing the tension to build. You see, it wasn't that the humans were unaware of the insults they endured. No, they were painfully aware, but they chose to play a longer game. And that choice, that patience, was something the Council misinterpreted as weakness. Cass paused, letting the gravity of this miscalculation sink in. That is where our esteemed leaders made their first grave mistake. They saw only what they wanted to see. A soft hum emanated from the recording apparatus and Cass adjusted it slightly, his expression thoughtful. "Our story truly begins with these misunderstandings," he said. For the Council believed they had successfully neutralized a potential threat, comfortably confident that humanity's adaptability was synonymous with acquiescence. But humanity is a paradox, a species that can endure almost anything yet remains fiercely protective of its own. His eyes gleamed with anticipation. And so, he continued, the stage was set. The Council basked in its illusion of control, and humanity kept smiling, adjusting and adapting. Yet behind the scenes, preparations were being made. Humans have a unique way of quietly gathering strength. A way of waiting for the opportune moment. It was only a matter of time before they would reveal just how well they understood the game the Council thought they were winning. Casthra leaned forward once more, his voice a whisper as he concluded this section of the tale. "Stay with me, for what comes next is a series of events that would change the galaxy forever." The Council's arrogance, their underestimation of Earth's people, set into motion a chain reaction they could never have anticipated. Humanity, polite and patient as ever, was about to make its move. He pressed a button on the apparatus, and the room filled with a brief hum, as though the story itself was alive, waiting to unfold. "And remember," he added, with a smile that mirrored the very one he had described, "sometimes those who seem the most harmless are the ones you should watch the closest." Cass leaned forward, the recording apparatus capturing every nuance of his voice, now tinged with a hint of somber gravity. "Our tale continues at a pivotal moment," he said. A moment when the Galactic Council, basking in its illusion of control, made a blunder so monumental that it shifted the balance of power forever. The scene he painted was vivid. The grand chambers of the Council, adorned with crystalline fixtures that shimmered with the false security of their authority. High Counselor Zax, draped in ceremonial robes, stood tall before his peers, the embodiment of arrogance. His voice echoed across the chamber as he announced a new edict with a flourish. "We hereby halt all human expansion into the Orion Spur," Zax declared, his words brimming with confidence. It was a decision meant to tighten humanity's leash further, to ensure they knew their place. Cass paused, a smile that didn't reach his eyes flickering across his face. For the first time, he said, humanity's patience began to waver. The ripple in the air was almost palpable, like the calm before a storm. The historian described the silence that followed Zax's proclamation, a silence that felt heavy, unnatural. It was broken not by murmured protests or quiet diplomacy, but by a figure who stood taller than ever before, Ambassador Maya Rodriguez. Rodriguez, known for her grace and unwavering composure, stepped forward. Her expression was no longer the warm, patient smile the Council had grown used to. Instead, she regarded them with a cold, unyielding gaze. "This decision," she said, voice firm and clear, "will have consequences." Cass relished in recounting the shock that rippled through the chamber. For the first time, a human had not smiled. The Council members exchanged nervous glances, their confidence beginning to falter. Cass's tone shifted, weaving in a thread of humor as he described the confusion that gripped the room. They had never seen a human react like this, he said, chuckling, and the discomfort it caused was a sight to behold. But the real blow came when Rodriguez, ever composed, presented a data slate filled with economic figures. "We are interdependent," she declared, her voice steady. The numbers revealed a startling reality. Human corporations managed a staggering share of interstellar cargo, rare earth mining, and crucial medical technologies. Cass described the ripple of panic that spread through the Council. "You could almost hear the crystalline walls shuddering with disbelief," he said. The historian delighted in detailing the Council members' reactions. Some sputtered in indignation, others exchanged frantic whispers, and still others sat frozen, realization dawning on their faces. Humanity, it turned out, was essential to the galactic economy. Yet, despite the growing unease, the Council refused to back down, clinging stubbornly to their authority. With a knowing grin, Cass shifted to a new figure in the narrative, Admiral James Chen. A man as calm as the deep void of space he described. Chen was introduced not as a warrior but as a strategist, a mind that thrived in moments of tension. When humanity needed to act, it was Chen who devised Operation Rockhopper. What appeared to be a standard mining operation was transformed into a strategic marvel, a defensive mechanism that would soon leave the galaxy awestruck. The Council, desperate to reassert control, dispatched a fleet to blockade Earth. And what did Admiral Chen do? Cass asked, leaning in. He welcomed them. Chen's message, welcome to Sol, was deceptively simple, delivered with the calm of a man who had prepared for every possibility. What followed was nothing short of a spectacle. Cass described with relish how Chen manipulated gravity fields around the Sol system. The Council's warships found themselves thrown into a chaotic dance, bouncing off fields like cosmic pinballs. Ships spun out of control, their formations shattered, and commanders scrambled to make sense of what was happening. The historian's eyes gleamed with amusement. The humans hadn't fired a single shot, he said. Yet they had utterly humiliated the Council's fleet. Cass marveled at the genius of it, using what the Council considered civilian equipment to orchestrate such a tactical masterpiece. Gravity manipulation, cleverly engineered to look non-threatening, left the once mighty warships scattered and humbled. Cass's tone darkened slightly as he described the aftermath. The fallout, he said, was nothing short of chaos. The Council, proud and accustomed to bending rules to their will, struggled to find a way to classify gravity manipulation as a weapon retroactively. They argued, deliberated, and even attempted to rewrite regulations, but their efforts were futile. The humans had not broken a single law. They had used the tools available to them in ways no one had foreseen. And yet Cass continued, a note of awe in his voice. The humans remained calm even in the face of rising tensions. They did not resort to violence. Instead, they demonstrated a tactical brilliance that left the galaxy scrambling to catch up. Cass described how diplomats and admirals alike coordinated flawlessly, every move calculated to send a message humanity would not be controlled, but they would not be the aggressors either. The historian sighed, as if the weight of history pressed down upon him. You see, he said, this was more than a simple act of defiance. It was a masterstroke. A reminder that humans had learned from every restriction imposed upon them. They had taken the lessons of adaptation and turned them into weapons far more powerful than brute force. The galaxy was starting to understand that beneath the human smiles lay a depth of ingenuity no one had anticipated. Cass leaned back, his expression a blend of admiration and lingering suspense. And this, he concluded, was only the beginning. The Council had yet to learn just how far humanity was willing to go to defend their place among the stars. But that is a tale for the next chapter. The recording apparatus clicked softly, as if echoing the anticipation of what was to come. Cass leaned back, his eyes clouded with the weight of the story he was about to share. The narrative had reached a point where the stakes were no longer just about pride or power, they were about life itself. The Council, he began, his voice tinged with a somber undertone, embarrassed by their failure to control humanity and humiliated by the debacle of their scattered fleet, decided they needed to make a statement. They chose to target a symbol of hope, a human medical vessel known as Hope's Light. The historian paused, drawing his listeners into the gravity of the moment. Hope's Light, he continued, was led by Dr. Alexandra Patel, a name known across star systems. Patel was a healer, a savior of lives, and her reputation was built on compassion and courage. She had overseen missions that brought vaccines, emergency treatments, and hope to the galaxy's most desperate corners. Yet, in their desperation, the Council decided to use her and her mission as an example, a warning to humanity. Cass's voice grew heavy as he described the scene. The Council warship Justice Bringer intercepted Hope's Light, demanding that it halt and submit to a search. Dr. Patel, knowing the importance of her cargo, vital vaccines destined for colonies where outbreaks threatened countless lives, attempted to reason with them. But the Council ship, in a display of arrogance and power, fired a warning shot. The blast didn't just miss its target, it obliterated thousands of doses of critical vaccines, shattering containers meant for vulnerable children. He paused, allowing the enormity of the act to settle over his audience. The tone of the story shifted, then Cass said softly. What had been a game of strategy and subtle defiance became a moment of true horror. Patel, usually a figure of calm and kindness, felt the anger of a healer who had watched innocent lives put in jeopardy. It was then that she did something unprecedented. She activated Protocol Nightingale. Cass's eyes narrowed as he recounted the transformation. Hope's Light, you see, was not just a medical vessel. It had been equipped with hidden defensive systems no one expected from a ship dedicated to saving lives. Protocol Nightingale was a tactical marvel. A defensive maneuver designed to protect medical missions at all costs. Patel's scanners lit up, identifying every vulnerability in the Justice Bringer's armor. With her voice steady, she issued a chilling ultimatum: surrender now, or face emergency surgery. The room seemed to hold its breath as Cass described what happened next. The Council commander, taken aback and unprepared for a healer's wrath, had no choice but to surrender. But the damage was already done, not just to Hope's Light but to the very soul of humanity. Patel sent a simple, devastating message back to Earth. They killed children. Those 3 words carried a weight that no council edict could counter, and they ignited a fire in humanity's collective heart. Cass's voice rose, filled with the intensity of the moment. Humanity responded swiftly, decisively. Ambassador Maya Rodriguez emerged, no longer the polite diplomat but a force of unyielding authority. Clad in a sharp black business suit, she delivered a message to the council, one that echoed through the halls of power. You have 12 hours to respond. After that, we will take action. Her calm demeanor only heightened the tension, a stark contrast to the chaos beginning to unfold within the council chambers. The historian's expression was one of solemn respect as he described the reaction. The council, of course, laughed. They still couldn't comprehend that humanity, those adaptable, smiling creatures, were now a force to be reckoned with. But the humans did not waste time. Across the galaxy, their ships and stations synchronized, moving in eerie unison. Hidden systems that had been dormant for years activated, ready for whatever was to come. Cass leaned forward, eyes gleaming with both admiration and awe. It was a testament to humanity's resilience and preparedness. He said that they could shift from diplomacy to defense with such precision. The galaxy held its breath, watching as the Council's arrogance finally met a force that would not bow, that would not be dismissed. The stage was set for humanity's ultimate stand. The recording apparatus hummed softly, echoing the tension that now filled the room. The recording apparatus hummed lightly as Cass took a moment to compose himself, the weight of what came next evident in his eyes. The Council. He failed to respond in time. Their arrogance had finally become a weakness they couldn't mask, and they found themselves tangled in endless debates and bureaucratic procedures. Hours slipped by as they argued over the wording of memos and the implications of threats. And in that delay, humanity prepared for its final, unmistakable demonstration of power. Cass's voice grew steady, almost solemn, as he continued. The moment humanity had planned for arrived. Commander Olivia Blake, known for her steely resolve and tactical brilliance, stepped forward to address not just the Council, but the entire galaxy. Her message was calm, chillingly composed. "We are done being nice," she announced. Her voice broadcast across star systems, leaving no room for misunderstanding. And then, in an act that no one had seen coming, the Ghost Fleet revealed itself. The historian paused, savoring the tension. Imagine thousands of ships materializing from what everyone assumed were harmless asteroids, he said, his voice filled with awe. Built under the guise of mining operations, these ships had been hidden for years, quietly constructed using civilian permits. When they emerged, they did so with a precision and power that sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The asteroid split open, unveiling warships bristling with weaponry. And the sight was nothing short of breathtaking. Cass's eyes sparkled as he described the chaos that ensued. The council members for once were speechless. Their disbelief turned to horror as they realized the implications. Humanity had weaponized civilian infrastructure without breaking a single regulation. The ships were legal. Their construction unassailable under galactic law. The Council's own rules had been used against them, twisted into a strategy they could neither predict nor counter. Commander Blake's voice echoed in Cass's retelling, firm and resolute. "We are prepared," she said. For every eventuality, her speech emphasized humanity's readiness, their ingenuity, and their resolve. "You sought to control us, to diminish our potential," she continued, "but we have always known how to adapt." How to build and defend when needed. The demonstration left no doubt humanity's patience had been replaced with a show of overwhelming strength, a strength that refused to be ignored. Cass leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. The council had no choice. Within minutes, their will shattered and they surrendered. The signing ceremony was held in a chamber stripped of its crystalline opulence, the air thick with tension and newfound respect. Ambassador Maya Rodriguez stood at the center, a symbol of humanity's perseverance. In a gesture that spoke volumes, she signed the agreement not with a laser stylus but with a simple fountain pen, its ink flowing smoothly onto the document. It was a declaration, a promise that humanity sought not to conquer but to mend, to fix what was broken in the galaxy. He sighed, a mixture of relief and admiration in his voice. But humanity's impact didn't end with their victory. They began to transform the galactic society they had so thoroughly shocked. Efficient reforms took root under their guidance, systems of aid and rapid response built upon the very fleet that had once been a weapon, the Ghost Fleet. Now a force for crisis intervention became a symbol of hope rather than fear. Humanity turned their strength toward healing, proving that their ingenuity was not limited to warfare. Cass's expression softened, his voice imbued with a sense of deep respect. And so, the story ends not with conquest, but with transformation. Humanity, once underestimated, had shown the galaxy their true nature, a species capable of both building and defending, of extending a hand to help while keeping a watchful eye on those who threaten peace. Their patience, once a quiet warning, was now a lesson that no one would soon forget. The recording apparatus clicked softly, as if in reverence to the tale that had just been told. And there you have it, Cass concluded, leaning back with a thoughtful smile. The galaxy learned to respect humanity not for their ability to destroy, but for their ability to create and protect. Their strength was never about power alone, it was about the balance between resilience and compassion. And now, as we look to the stars, we remember that beneath those patient smiles lies a force that never again will be underestimated.